It's 3:30, so let's start the session. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sami Nathan. I'm handling Zoho marketing for Zoho Books. Thank you all for joining this session. This session is all about Audit Trail. As you know, the MCA Ministry of Corporate Affairs announced in 1st April 2021 that businesses in India using an accounting solution should have the Audit Trail capability. As part of compliance, this is a very important capability that every businesses should have. So we wanted to. This session is all about how this session is all about explaining what Audit Trail is, why it is important, and how people can actually keep track of their activity log using Zoho Books. This webinar is hosted on Zoho Meeting, a interactive webinar platform. On the bottom, you will find the navigation tabs. In that, you'll have a question mark module, which is the questions tab. If you have any questions, please drop in your questions there. I have Miss Merlin and Miss Soumya, who's part of this session, who can help you with all your questions and answers. During the course of the session, everybody will be in listen-only mode. Post the session, we'll answer all the questions one by one from the Zoho Books team and from our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. CA Pritam Mahure. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Pritam. Mr. Pritam is an internationally recognized speaker, writer, and advisor on GST and VAT. Pritam has authored more than 15 books which provide practical advice on optimizing GST and VAT. He is also an invited columnist for leading media houses, including Business Line, Asian Age, Business Standard, Economic Times, Times of Woman, and etc. Pritam has addressed more than 200 conferences on GST and VAT in multiple countries like India, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, and so on and so forth, in front of ICAI, CII, NASCOM, ASSOCHAM, and so on. This is an immense pleasure for me to welcome Mr. Pritam to this session. Over to you, Mr. Pritam.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Sami. I hope now I can share the screen as well.
Yes, sir, you can do it.
Amazing, thank you. Enter screen I need to check. Yes, I hope the screen is visible now.
Yes, sir, it is visible. Please go to full screen mode so that people can see.
Yes, I have. Achha, now is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Wonderful. Thanks. So thanks, Sami, and thanks Team Zoho for this wonderful opportunity, and thanks to all the participants for joining us in such large numbers. So as Sami was rightly highlighting, that Audit Trail has become now mandatory for almost all the companies which are working in India. And that's the reason it is now more than important for all of us to know basically what is this concept of Audit Trail and why the government has made it mandatory for companies to follow this concept of Audit Trail. So friends, basically this term trail, if I make it pretty simple by way of a day-to-day life example, is basically when we go to a jungle or say jungle safari, you might have seen that there are forest officers who will tell you that the lion has passed by this road or tiger has passed by this road. And how they tell us? Based on the footprints. So that is basically, they say that this is the trail from where he came and where he went. So in a similar manner, in a similar fashion, the government wants to understand the trail of the accounting transactions also. The government wants to know how the accounting was made. And if at all there are any changes which are done at a later stage, like say deleting an entry by way of a backdated entry deletion or creating a backdated entry, then the government intends to know whether such kind of a step has been taken. Right now, there are many accounting software who are having a facility that where you can do your accounting, but they may not have the facility of having or keeping a trail of all the changes which a person carries out. And this had become a major concern for most of the investigation agencies, because be it serious fraud investigation offices, be it economic offense wing, be it ED enforcement directorate, or for that matter, be it CBI. In almost all the cases, all of you know that typically there is a money trail, that is from where the money has come and where the money has went. And in this regard, most of the time, to siphon off the money, to make certain illegal payments, many of the time it is possible that a particular company is opened or from particular company certain payments are made. Now, whenever these kind of accounting records were seized, these kind of record, that is, say, accounting software was seized, later on it was identified that this software which was seized or the accounting records which were seized, there were certain backdated changes which were made in the software, or there were certain backdated entries which were made in the software. However, the government was not able to understand exactly how it was done. And that's the reason the government thought that let us now make an audit trail, that is, to keep a record of all the changes which you make in the accounting also mandatory. This was announced way back in 2021. However, as you are aware that this was a year immediately after pandemic, and that would have been one of the reasons that the government postponed it, and now it is made applicable from 1st of April 2023. Basically, the government now intends to know the chronological steps of all the transactions. For example, you will create an entry in your accounting software. Subsequently, you might intend to delete that entry, or you might intend to change that entry. I will give you a simple example. Let us say there is a shop owner. He is recording his accounting transaction in a particular software on a daily basis. Or there is a, let us say, a small restaurant who is recording the transaction in his software on a daily basis. Now, what happens? Maybe after a couple of days, couple of weeks, he realizes that in this particular month, the sale is, say, 1 lakh rupees. And then his chartered accountant or his consultant tells him that this month the sale is this much, so you might be required to pay this much tax. Maybe there is an advance tax due date. And in such cases, a local, maybe a small time taxpayer might say that I don't want to pay this kind of a tax, and he might then delete certain accounting entries. So that is one of the possibilities, and that's the reason to avoid these kind of possibilities, to avoid this kind of situation, to avoid anybody deleting an entry on a backdated basis, the government is now saying that one cannot do it, or even if that has been done, there has to be a trail of all such transactions. And that's the reason the government has now made it mandatory for all the companies from 1st of April 2023 to have an audit trail. Now, basically, please note that this audit trail is mandatory for companies and it is not applicable for right now, at least for individuals and LLPs. Maybe in days to come, it might become applicable to them also. Basically, audit trail, if I to put it in a simple manner, is basically once you create an accounting entry, and if at a subsequent stage, if you want to delete that accounting entry, while you might edit it or something like that, you might delete it also, but still the trail will remain. The trail will tell you that at a subsequent stage, if the investigation officer is checking your record accounting software, the investigation officer will know that on this day the accounting entry was created, and at a subsequent date the accounting entry was deleted. So this trail will remain. So while you would be in a position to edit, you might be in a position even to delete certain entries, but still please note a trail will remain. If any one of you is working in the field of GST, you would be in a position to correlate with a e-invoicing example. All of you know that you can create an e-invoice and you can delete or you can cancel an e-invoice within 24 hours of its generation. Now, while you will cancel an e-invoice within 24 hours, still a trail will remain. And the government, if they want to know how many e-invoices you have cancelled, they will be in a position to know that because you have uploaded all the data of invoices on the government portal and subsequently you have cancelled that invoice. And that's the reason the government is saying, while you would be in a position similar to maybe e-invoicing process, you might be in a position to edit, you might be in a position to maybe delete also, but there has to be a trail. The government intends to know why this, basically maybe during investigation and all, why this entry was edited or why this entry was deleted. And that's the reason the government is now making the trail mandatory. As I mentioned, that there might be certain example, there might be a certain scenario. Let us take an example. Let's say there is a sale which you booked on 10th of April 2023 to your customer. You sent that goods on 12th of, say, April. The customer received that goods on 15th of April, and the customer raised a concern about certain defect in your product. So both of you agree, because of the quality issues, instead of selling the product for 1 lakh rupees, now the price of the product is only 80,000 rupees. the customer starts to use that product, and subsequently after he starts using that product, he realizes that this product is not at all usable. And that's the reason then the customer says, I will not pay you a single rupee, and you also agree. You of this amount. Now this entire government said, okay, you might book the sale, you will edit also, you will might amend it also, you will reduce it, and subsequently you might delete it also, but the trail should remain. That first you created the entry, then you reduced it, and subsequently it was deleted. So that if there is any ill intention, if there is any wrong intention, if there is any intention to separate this fact from the government would be still in a position to know that this transaction has taken place. And if they have any queries, the government officer, if they have any queries, they can then ask those respective queries. Friends, all of you know that this is just a start, that this accounting trail or audit trail requirement has been made mandatory right now for the companies. In days to come, it might be even made compulsory that this accounting trail has to be there for all GST taxpayers also. Because to some extent, all of you know that once you create a e-way bill, and subsequently when the goods move from one location to another, the government is also physically tracking the movement of such goods on a real-time basis. Additionally, in a recent, like a couple of weeks only ago, the government had specifically mentioned that as far as e-invoices are concerned, you can report e-invoices just within 7 days only. So if it is, you remember that, okay, certain e-invoices were not reported, or you raised invoices and you forgot to report it, then the government says after 7 days you cannot do it. So the government right now is basically trying to ensure that all the sales which a taxpayer is basically booking is appropriately recorded. And at a subsequent stage, it is not deleted. And even if it brings investigation, the authority should be in a position to understand why. First, how many such kind of transactions took place, what was the value involved, and why this kind of addition or amendment were carried out. And that's the reason, friend, the government is intending to basically create or ensure that this kind of audit trail concept is introduced in India. And as we mentioned right now in this slide, that in days to come, even in GST also, or for all GST payers also, this kind of requirement might be made mandatory even if you are not a company. Friends, there might be certain interplays or there might be certain connection of this audit trail with GST as well. Yes, hi.
Hi, yes, sir. I'm able to. I'm able to see you and hear you now, sir, clearly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I will start again.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we were
Thank you
talking
so much.
about, yes, no problem. I think there's some glitch, net issues. So thanks for all the patience. So friends, as we were discussing about GST, and there is a possibility that in days to come, a taxpayer may not be a company, and still, if he is a GST payer, the government might make this audit trail mandatory for them also. So this is one important thing which we wanted to share, because anyhow in GST, if you really look at it, the government is trying to capture all the details on a real-time basis. For example, when you are intending to supply goods to your customer, you are supposed to raise e-way bills when you are trying to move the goods from one city to another. Second, when you are trying to supply services to your client, if your turnover is above specified limit, you must issue e-invoices. And please note, you are supposed to report those e-invoices to the government even before you send those e-invoices to your customer. So it is pretty obvious that the government wants to get the data on a real-time basis. That is first. And second, the government also intends to know whether you are making any backdated changes or you are creating any subsequent changes in the accounting record. And that's the reason the government is trying to move in a direction that all the accounting software which you are using should have an appropriate audit trail in them, so that during investigation by maybe serious fraud investigation offices, maybe by ED, maybe by CBI, maybe by EOW, maybe by income tax authorities, maybe by GST authorities, when they try to check your accounting record, they should get appropriate trail of all the transactions which were created by you, which were amended by you, which were edited by you, or which were deleted by you. To put it in a pretty simple manner, I think all of you know that when you send a message through WhatsApp, and if you want to wrongly, if you had sent that particular message which you want to send in a friends group, and if you unfortunately sent it in a family group, then you want to delete it. All of you know that couple of months back, you were not in a position to delete it, or even if you delete it, there was a trail that this message was deleted. I think right now you can delete that message also. So to some extent, then it leaves a trail that you sent a message and subsequently you are deleting that message. To that extent, in a similar fashion, I would say the government is trying to create a audit trail for all the companies, for all the accounting transactions which are taking place or which they are doing. Additionally, friends, please note that this kind of a movement wherein the authorities or government is saying that you need to have audit trail, it is basically an indication that we are slowly but steadily moving towards the concept of blockchain. Because in a blockchain kind of a concept also, you know that there is an appropriate audit trail. Whenever anybody makes changes in any block, there is an appropriate audit trail which is available. And in a similar manner, in even right now in accounting, I think we are now talking about audit trail, which is nothing but a kind of a blockchain kind of a concept, wherein we are trying to say that if you edit, if you amend, if you do any changes, the government would be in a position to understand when this accounting entry was created, when it was amended, when it was modified, when it was deleted, and then they subsequently can ask you relevant question. So in this regard, I think the most important thing which all of us should do is basically first to understand that this requirement is for companies only. It may not be right now applicable for LLPs, it may not be applicable for individuals and all, but still, because in days to come, this requirement might become mandatory, I think it is more and more important for all the professionals, for all the companies, for all the taxpayers to ensure that if they are carrying out any changes, they keep a reason or they appropriately document the reason why these kind of changes which are being carried out by them. Maybe in the month of April, when you close accounting, and maybe in the month of June you realize you made mistake, you are trying to change the April data. So try to have an appropriate trail, try to have appropriate reasoning of why these kind of backdated changes are carried out. Friends, please note there are many software right now also which have this kind of a inbuilt capability wherein such kind of changes, if are done, there is appropriate trail which automatically gets created. Plus, there are certain software which blocks you. For example, if you complete the month of April, then maybe up to 10th of May, you would be in a position, because typically by 10th of May, you would close the month of April. So by 10th of April, if you want to carry out any changes, you would be in a position to carry out the changes, but subsequently you would not be in a position to carry out the changes. So right now also there are accounting software which do that. But if your accounting software is not up to date, it is not having this kind of a facility of creating or having audit trail, then you must shift to a new software which supports such requirement, particularly if you are a company. Additionally, friends, because this is going to be a big change for almost all the companies, you need to ensure that you are telling this appropriately to your consultant, your team member, and your auditor. And when you tell them, basically why you tell them, so that they don't make any mistakes. Because typically you will edit the entry, you will modify the entry, you will delete the entry when you do certain mistakes, correct? So you need to be now more and more careful, because all the mistakes which you do and later on which you are trying to correct, certainly it will leave a trail. So with this, friend, we are almost through with our discussion, key points on audit trail. I hope you found it relevant. Now I will request Sami to take the discussion further, and if there are any questions, I will request all the participants to put those questions in the Q&A box, and we can then take the question. And sincere apologies for the voice issue.
Thank you so much, Pritam. That was very informative on what is Audit Trail and why it came into existence and how businesses can need to take it for their business. So moving on from the discussions from Pritam, we would like to now walk you through on the Audit Trail capability in Zoho Books. To summarize the entire points that Pritam has enlightened us, Audit Trail is the textbook definition of Audit Trail is it is a step-by-step sequential record which provides evidence of the documented history of financial transactions to its source. the audit trail will contain details like date, time, and user information associated with the transactions. This audit trail will help businesses and the respective auditors to have a clear track of all the financial data particular to a transaction or a change being made. Why audit trail is important? First is the visibility. A business owner along with the government will have the visibility of what all transactions has been made within the business. So audit trail gives a clear cut information on what has been changed, what has been modified, and what has been deleted. Next is fraud detection. Being in business, businesses are there are chances that there might be a error that is made intentionally or non-intentionally. So, in order to ensure that businesses don't fall into trap of this, audit trail helps them in tracking what and all has been changed. At the end of the day, that will help them in detecting any anomalies or fraud. And with all the details being tracked to the granular level, businesses have the leverage of identifying who has made the issue or who has made this fraud, and the accountability comes into picture. The next major importance is compliance. Every business is aware that they should not be in the bad books when it comes to government compliance and regulations. With audit trail, businesses can ensure that everything is on par as per the government regulations and compliance, and so that they are in good books and ensure their businesses run smoothly. So let's see how audit trail is there in Zoho Books. So in Zoho Books, I'm going to explain what are all the features that come as part of audit trail. First is uh, when there is a record of any transaction that is carried out in an organization, there is a clear description of action that is performed. There is also a clear indication of when the action was performed, at what date and what time. And there is also a clear indication of under which transaction or a module the action is being performed. And it also mentions which user has performed this action. So all these four can be easily tracked in Zoho Books that comes under the audit trail capability. Now let me go to the product and do a detailed walkthrough of how audit trail works and how you can benefit from this. Just to give a brief to the people who are new to Zoho Books. Zoho Books is a GST based cloud-based accounting solution that can help you with your business finances. Once you log into Zoho Books, this is where this is a dashboard that you can see. You can add your items, you can add your create invoices under sales module, bills under purchases module, and you can file your GST, you can generate reports, and so on and so forth. This is an end-to-end application where you can handle your invoices, manage your bills and petty expenses, do bank reconciliation, generate and file GST returns, and much more. As this session is all about audit trail, I would like to particularly focus on that. If you go to the report section, at the bottom under the activity sub tab, you will find activity logs and audit trail. Once you click on that, you will be able to see the screen. The whole screen is divided into 4 columns. The first column, you'll be able to see the timestamp of the date and time, the details of which transaction is being focused here, the description of the transaction, and the audit trail. Once you click on the audit trail, you could see the versions of the transactions. So I'll show a better example here. Just a moment, I'm just checking the right. Yeah, if you click on a transaction here, you could see the different versions of this transaction. So whenever a change is being made, a new version is being created inside the product, and that can be tracked under the versions column. If you want to compare between different versions to understand what has been changed or modified, added or deleted, what you can do is click on compare and click on the versions that you want to compare. For example, I want to compare the 4th version with the 2nd version. So we can click on check boxes and give us compare. And then the screen shows what and all has been changed. So if you can see here, here is the legend to show you which is what. So yellow color is for modified, pink is for removed, and green is for added. And if you see, when compared from the version 2 to version 4, there has been a change in the GST treatment. There has been a change in the place of supply. So these modifications can be easily tracked under the comparison versions. Let me show. So right now we saw old transactions. Let's now create a new transaction. See how it shows. So I'm creating a new transaction here. I'm just giving it end of the month, and then I am adding boots, and then I'm adding shuttle. So whenever you create an item, it's good to update the HSN code. And also the tax rates for it. Yes, if you want to give discounts, we can have the discounts here, and then. So if we go to the report section and if we go to the active trail and activity log, we can find an entry of the action performed here, which is an invoice number sent to a customer and what is the invoice all about here. Now let's go and do changes in this transaction. Let's say I'm editing this transaction and I want to remove a shuttle, and then I want to add a different item here, and I'll also update the HSN code here, and then I'll apply the quantity here, tax treatment for it, and then I'm also adding this a representative from my end, which is a salesperson, and I'm adding a subject line. It's good to have a note on why this change has been made. And once we go to the report section, and once we get to the activity logs, and then if you click on the audit trail, now you'll be able to, let's say we compare the 3rd version and the 1st version. Compare 1, compare 3, and here see there's a clear difference on, we have added the salesperson, so the salesperson has been here, which is modified, and then we have also added the revised order, and the item has been added. One more additional benefit that you get out of Zoho Books is that you can customize your report. So there's a customized report option here. Once you click on that, you can select the date range, whether you want to do a check for this month or this week or for today or for last year. Let's say I'm taking for last year. Run report. It will only show the list of transactions that were handled last year. Similarly, you can export this whole audit trail transactions as a PDF or Excel, and you can also take a printout of it. So this is the overall walkthrough of the audit trail in Zoho Books. On top of this, you can Zoho Books has the capability of tracking all the actions performed inside Zoho Books. It just not be just transaction per se. Any activity that is performed inside Zoho Books is tracked, and you can see it here. When somebody changes the tax group or when new user is added, people will be able to track it on a day-to-day basis. Today I added one of my colleague Merlin to this organization, so that is being tracked here. So whatever actions being performed is clearly tracked in Zoho Books, and also as per the government norms, yeah, the changes that are made to the transactions are being tracked as part of the audit trail compliance. I hope this walkthrough has given you enough insights on how to check the audit trail report and what are the things that can be done as part of audit trail. Thank you so much. In case if you have any questions, please do drop in our questions tab and we'll be able to take the questions. So we'll take questions one by one. There is a question from Ms. Bindu. Is the audit trail for customers? How about purchase and vendor payments? For any transactions that is being handled within Zoho Books, each and everything will be tracked as part of audit trail compliance, Bindu. So let's say you add you do any transactions, be it a customer payment or a reconciliation or adding journal entries or sending out a bill or an invoice, everything will be tracked, and whatever changes that is being done by you or your teammates, that gets tracked. Okay, there's a question by Vasist Business. By whom it is edited can be traced? Yes, that can be traced. Let me show it to you. If you go to reports and let's say you go to the audit trail here, and if you click on the sorry, go to reports, go to audit trail. You click on audit trail here, you can see this is my name. Since I am the one who has done the required changes, my name is here. Let's say if one of my teammate Merlin or Soumya has done the changes, their name would have been here along with the date and the timestamp. So details such as the concerned person who did the change, on what date, at what time, gets tracked as part of audit trail. Hi Vaidik, can we revert back the changes in one click? Again, even if you revert back the changes, that will also be considered as one more entry, and that will also get tracked under audit trail. So whatever, even a small action that you perform gets tracked as part of our activity log. And if any action that is being performed in transactions will get reflected as part of audit trail. A question from Jaya Nagarajan. As we are using Zoho Book software for accounting, so the audit trail will be there now available, or we need to update it? Yeah, audit trail is part of every plan in Zoho Books, Jaya Nagarajan. So you don't have to purchase it or you don't have to update as such. So audit trail capability is part of each and every plan of Zoho Books. And if you can go and check in your Zoho Books organization under the reports, under the activity module, you'll be able to see a sub module called activity logs and audit trail. There's a question from Akash. Can we filter activity by user? I mean, what activity was performed by particular user? Yes. Under customized report, there's an option of filtering out for in which module you want to see the actions performed, or through which user the actions were performed. You'll be able to customize the report, and you'll be able to see in accordance with either a user or a module or a transaction. There's a question by Vijay. Is audit trail applicable for all companies irrespective of turnover? Yes. Audit trail is compulsory for businesses in India. As in, as per the government mandate, companies using an accounting solution should have the audit trail capability in it. Yes. There's a question by Srinitya. Do the changes made for financial year 2022 transaction after 104 will be recorded? Yes. There's a question by Payal Arora. Audit trail does not have activities performed on vendors. It just shows the way users have updated something in the vendor, but not exactly so not available in vendors. Okay, but let me just check with this, and I'll get back to you on this. Hi Pritam ji. So there's a question. What is the implication if the company doesn't record on regular basis? So does government have any?
No. See, that is totally fine. You might do accounting maybe after, like, say, 1 month, 2 months. But the only thing is that if the government wants to know, okay, when did you did accounting, that they will be in a position to know. So that is totally fine. If you delay the accounting, that is okay. But obviously, on a separate note, it is always better to maintain accounting on a regular basis rather than in a delayed manner. Like, say, doing that accounting after a year, it is much better to do it on a regular basis, on a monthly basis.
And one more question, sir. Should we have to upload audit trail while filing, or will it be automatically pulled?
There is no specific mention about that. I think in days to come, it might get clarified, or we might get an answer on that.
There's a question from Vijay. Thank you. What about small companies where accounting software not maintained and uses Excel for all reporting? As per the rule from the government, what they say is businesses using a dedicated accounting solution should have the audit trail capability. But I would suggest or recommend you to move to an accounting solution from an Excel sheet, because accounting solution does more than what an Excel sheet can offer. If you are a very small business, Zoho Books offers a free plan that you can use for your day-to-day business accounting. So please do give it a try and see.
So basically, there's another question. What is the idea behind making this mandatory? See, the government, because there are so many SFIOs, ED, CBI, and so many investigations are ongoing. And the government has realized that sometime when the data is being submitted, maybe accounting data, there are certain backdated changes, which the government authorities obviously are not in a position to understand, which whether the backup which has been given, the accounting software backup, and the accounting records, whether they are appropriately recorded, or there is some mischief which is therein, which has been corrected by doing certain backdated entries. So the government wants to know, going forward at least, if any backdated entries are being changed, then the government will be in a position to understand that. So this is to avoid mischief or fraud.
I guess that answers Mr. Paresh's question, where he's asking if you can explain what is the idea behind making this mandatory for by government of India.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I guess you have already answered it.
Customer report, I think
A
these are
question by Urvi Garjara. Apart from audit trail, there's a question of expense booking. How to book an expense like share purchase and receive dividends. For example, for share purchase, you can create an invoice and make an entry for it. And similarly, for received payments, you can make a payment received transaction. You can track it. There's a question from Asha. Can we customize the reports under activity logs only bookkeeping or accounts related transactions since changes carried out at quotation level and address change? So there are two things here. In Zoho Books, there's something called as activity log where each and every changes that is being made gets tracked. When it comes to Audit Trail, you can when you customize a report, you can customize report based on transactions or based on module or based on user. So there is a level of customization when it comes to Audit Trail. There is also a level of customization when it comes to activity logs.
Yes, there is a penalty. See, whenever the government makes it mandatory, if you don't follow, so I think the penalty goes up to 5 lakh rupees. But obviously, there might be some other aspect also which you need to keep in mind. If audit trail is not maintaining the accounting records, the government will have a question why this is not maintained. So they will try to dig deeper. So it is much better to follow this mandatory requirement to have audit trail in the accounting software. GST input credit, where are the bills? What are the bills is considered for input credit? So typically also not related to GST, not related to audit trail, but see, as far as GST is concerned, you can claim almost all input tax credit except specific negative credit, that is specific restrictions which are there under section 17 subclause 5. So almost I will say all credit is available except the specified cases. For example, construction related credit you cannot take. Maybe motor vehicle related credit you cannot take. Yes, we can move to
So
the
there's a
next.
question by Safira. How long the audit trail will be available in Zoho Books? Should we export and keep an Excel sheet? As long as you are continuously using Zoho Books, you'll be able to have the track of all the audit trail and activity logs within Zoho Books, Safira. So that shouldn't be a problem. There's a question by Payal. Also, it is not possible to share access to auditors of audit trail and activity log versions without sharing the admin access. So what we can do is you can either export it as PDF or an Excel sheet, or you can add your auditor as a user, an accountant within Zoho Books, and he'll be able to access it. You don't have to generally give him an admin access. You can add him as a user called accountant, and he'll be able to access the required modules within Zoho Books. Pritamji, there's a question. Is there any penalty for not maintaining audit trail?
Yes, as I mentioned, I think there is a penalty up to 5 lakh rupees. But as I mentioned, it's a mandatory requirement. If somebody is not maintaining this audit trail, then the authorities will be more curious why this audit trail is not maintained, and they will try to dig deeper. So it is much better to follow this requirement, which is mandatory now. I think almost all question from I think legal side is done. Yes, it is applicable to one person company also. Every company it is applicable.
There's a question from Vijay. Is it applicable to one person company? I mean,
Yes,
when yeah.
every company, as I mentioned, every company, it is applicable.
Okay. There's a question from Rekha. Can we make notes or add comment for transaction? Yes. So when you create any transactions, at the bottom you'll find a place to comment or to communicate with any of your teammates. So there's an option to add comments. There is also an option to add notes when you create an invoice. This question from Mayur: what if customer asks to change the invoice? So again, you can, if the customer is requesting for you to change the invoice, you can do the required changes in the invoice, but it will be tracked as part of Audit Trail within Zoho Books. Let's say the customer is asking you to change the due date from net 60 to net 90, or is asking for two different materials than what was ordered previously. You can do it and you can send him the new invoice, but these changes will be tracked within Zoho Books. There's a question by Sandeep: how to maintain audit trail? So there is no separate need of maintaining an audit trail. Audit trail by itself is something that gets tracked within the solution. So we have a report where you can go and see the entire track of all the activities that is performed within Zoho Books. So whenever you don't have to do anything manually as such. If that is the question that if that is the answer that you're looking for, every action performed within books, Zoho Books will get tracked, and any changes that is performed within the transactions comes under audit trail, and you can go and check that under the activity log and audit trail report in Zoho Books. So there's a question from Paresh. We only enter customer invoices and vendor invoices and then load bank statement once in a month. In this case, how audit trail will work? So whenever you feed in the customer invoices, so there'll be an entry where the customer invoices is getting added. So is the vendor invoices, and so is an update stating that bank statements have been imported. In case if you do any changes in the customer invoices or vendor invoices, that also gets tracked. So whatever action you perform, be it adding a user or changing the GST tax rates, or changing new templates, or making any critical changes in the transaction, everything gets tracked within Zoho Books. There's a question from Pavitra: is it on a monthly basis or a yearly basis? Mean to say when we have to submit the reports to auditor. I mean, whenever your auditor is requesting for a report, you can just generate the report and share it with them. There is no stipulated time where we have to submit the reports. Pritam Ji, is there any other mandate that business have to submit the audit reports to the auditor? There's a question from Hari Krishnan: is it applicable even for non-GST company? Yes, in case if the non-GST company is using an accounting solution in India, then that accounting solution should have the audit trail capability. Yes. Pritam ji, there's a question. Our books is audited by CA. How the government will know audit trail is maintained by company or not? Your voice, we are not able to hear you, sir. No, your voice, you're on mute, I believe. No, sir, you are on mute now. Can you unmute? No, sir, I'm not able to hear you. It shows that you're on mute. Sir, you're on mute, sir. Okay, but I'm not able to hear you. There is a question by Vasist. If the same organization in Zoho is accessed by two different users in two different systems, will it record the details of system? As of now, we only, I mean, the changes being made by which user at which time and date is only getting tracked. Maybe I can check this detail with the team and I can get back to you on this. There's a question by Srinivasa. Basically, Audit Trail from April 1st, 2023 is by default implemented Zoho Books. Said we not need to activate it manually. No, Srinivasa, we do not have to do anything. Audit Trail is basically a part of Zoho Books under the activity, under the reports module. You do not have to do anything. It does that businesses from April 1st should use an accounting solution that has the Audit Trail capability. Since Zoho Books has already got it, you don't have to do anything extra here. There's a question by from Ashraf. If we are maintaining all transactions on Zoho Books, will that be enough as Audit Trail? Yes, yes. So, like I said in the previous question, whatever you do inside Zoho Books will gets
Yes.
tracked, and whatever changes that you do in Audit Trail gets tracked in Zoho Books.
Yes, I think now I
So-
can. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, yes.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, Pritam.
So sorry. Yes, so basically this question, no, as far as auditors or anybody is concerned, no, what the government is saying, when you are doing accounting, see, typically accounting always done by the company or a person who is employed by the company. So what the government is saying, whatever software which we are using, it should have an inbuilt capability of keeping audit trail. So that subsequently, maybe after 3-4 years, if the government wants to know whether there are any backdated changes, whether there is any amendment, whether there is any edit, whether there is any modification which you have carried out, the government would be in a position to check that. So the requirement is only that you as a company need to do accounting in a software, in accounting software which keeps audit trail. That's it. Once you follow that, automatically at a later stage, obviously when your auditor will come for audit in 2024, they will also ask you the same question. And if you are not having accounting software wherein there is a capability of audit trail, then he will qualify the audit report. He might mention in his audit report that the company is not maintaining accounting records in a software which has capability of audit trail. So it is must for you, if you are a company, to maintain or to have accounting in a software which has capability of audit trail. I hope it clarifies. Yes, Sami, you are on mute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. I'm just checking the question, sir.
Okay. I'm not able to see the questions. I don't know why it has stopped.
I'm just checking new questions, sir.
Okay.
So
I don't have any new question after 4:15 p.m. on my screen.
there's a question from Karthik Kumar. If one need to correct a GST invoice, is it better to correct the invoice or cancel the invoice, provide a credit note, and then create a new invoice?
See, it depends on situation to situation. Whatever, like say for example, if you are having, if you are raising e-invoices, then in such cases, as you know, you can cancel e-invoice within 24 hours. If it is beyond 24 hours, but it is but natural for you to give a credit note or means that's the only way for you to do correction. If you are not issuing any e-invoices, Correct, you are a normal taxpayer below 10 crore rupees. E-invoicing is not applicable to you. In such cases, whether you issue a credit note or whether you cancel or delete your invoice, normal invoice, in both the cases, nothing will change because there is no tax liability, because you are saying that this invoice, maybe you mentioned a wrong name on that particular invoice and you are doing a correction. What the government is saying, if you keep a trail of that data, the correction data, subsequently, whenever they come for audit, if they have any further question, they would be in a position to ask you those questions, because they would be in a position to understand that you have made such kind of invoices and you cancelled or you deleted those invoices. As far as a generic question is concerned, should I do a deletion of an invoice or should I issue a credit note? We always recommend the taxpayer to issue a credit note. That's the best way, so that there is an appropriate audit trail which is maintained. You raised the invoice, you issued a credit note for equal amount, and then you raised another invoice. I hope it is the question is answered.
So the next question is, how many days or months or years we need to maintain audit trail?
Right now it is for 8 years. And see, audit trail is not maintained basically for number of years. You need to have accounting done in a software which maintains audit trail. So you need to maintain your accounting records for 8 years. So then you have to maintain your accounting records for 8 years. That's it. And automatically, whenever they come for audit, that time the government will can check the audit trail also. We revise the invoice in here. What I will update.
It's a question from Harish. Hi, can export audit report like in Tally? I mean, we have this option of exporting the audit trail report either as a PDF or a CXL file. That was I had showed that on how to do it in the demo. And maybe I will share the recording with you so that you can see how to export the report accordingly.
If we revise an invoice in GST portal, how we will update invoice? As we know, we cannot once GST file. Okay. See, once you have filed your GSTR1, no, and if you want to then subsequently, if you want to then change the invoice, then it is better once you have filed your GSTR1, it is better for you to issue a credit note.
There's a question by Jay Shri. Will it become troublesome if there are many changes recorded in audit trail? I mean, it all depends upon how many changes that you are doing within Zoho Books or within transactions. So, whenever you do a change, it is better to have a detailed note of why there are changes being done, so that when there is an audit, it will be easy to explain to the corresponding authorities or the auditor on why there were so many changes made. So
correct. We have wrong debit note in the month of February in the GST portal instead of credit note. How to correct? You have to issue then, because you have, instead of issuing a credit note, you have issued a debit note. So I think you have to issue now 2 credit notes, and that's how you can do the correction. One for invoice, one for debit note, the wrongly raised debit note. Yes. Yes, I think almost all the questions are answered. Yes, Sami.
yes, sir, almost done. There was the one final question. How does Audit Trail work when we migrate from QuickBooks to Zoho Books? Hi, Suman. We'll connect with you offline and we'll answer this question in detail for you.
The recording would be shared, I think.
Sir, yes. So this session is recorded. You will receive the session along with the presentation from our end in 3 to 5 business days.
Wonderful.
Also, our Zoho Finance team is hosting the Zoho Finance workshop from month of May. So Zoho Books customers can be part of these sessions where you get a chance to meet the product experts from Zoho Books and other Zoho products, and you can ask in your questions. We have dedicated sessions for 2 days. So I'm sharing the registration link in the chat section. So people who are interested in to attend the session can please register here. I guess we have almost covered all the questions.
Yes.
It's almost time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Pritam, for being a gracious guest speaker in explaining the extent of Audit Trail, its importance. And I hope this was very informative to everybody who attended this session. Like I mentioned before, this session was recorded. You will get the recording of this session in 3 to 5 business days. We'll also share the presentations also along with the email. In case if you have any questions pertaining to Audit Trail or Zoho Books as such, please do drop in a question to support.india@zohobooks.com. I repeat, support.india@zohobooks.com, and our team will respond to you at the earliest. Thank you everyone once again. Take care and stay safe.
Yes. Thanks. Thanks, Sami. Thanks, Team Zoho. Bye.
Thank you, sir.